So, folks, I read a lot of books. I love books. Books are not going nowhere. Books are in. People are, whether you're doing an Audible or have a handheld copy, people are reading books, and I think it's just so much fun to take you out of your where you are today to go somewhere else. I love it. It's the cheapest way to travel. I always say, right? Welcome to In Between the Pages with James Lott Jr. You know who I am. I'm James Lott Jr. here on JLJ Media. And I find the most interesting books, and this book is something else, kids. I'll tell you something. It starts with a plane crash. Okay, folks, you got like 6 pages of plane crash happening, and then it goes to this whole other thing. It's like I was telling before we got on the show. There's like power struggles, and this person has like their kind of secrets, and then this person decides the baby is mine. And I just all kind of stuff going on. There's all stuff kind of going on, and there's folks after the plane crash watching what's going on from above. It's like metaphysical, it's real life, it's a mess in a good way. It's called, well, you can see if you're watching, I can't do that. What the Dead Can Do. I can't, like, which way do I turn? Which way do I turn? If you're listening, it's called What the Dead Can Do. I'm making my guests laugh. Let me tell you who he is. Take my best voice in. He's the author of multiple dark fictions. Ooh, dark fiction. I didn't realize that. Born from various addictions he's chased while living in New York City as an award-winning writer and creative director. We take our lives and turn them into art. I love that. He's many years sober now. Congratulations, but now he remains an addict's addict. That's what it says in his bio. Is this his debut novel, or as my aunt says, debut? He grew up in the Southwest. I said, I think you're loud. Lived in New York for nearly 20 years. So, he's hard. He lived in New York. I lived in New York. You know how it is there. But now resides somewhere, he says somewhere between Austin and San Antonio, in a place called Wimberley, Texas. Never heard of it before. I like Austin. I like San Antonio. Where he works as an author, freelance creative director, copywriter, and advertising. And he says, and I believe this completely, most importantly, a full-time dad. There are good dads out there, and Father's Day just passed as we're recording this. Help me welcome Peter Rosch. Hi, Peter.
Hello. Hello to you and hello to everyone.
Yes. And I told him earlier I love his voice. You have a great smile. I love your voice. What do I call that?
I appreciate that.
So, okay. Congratulations on the book. Number one, putting together a book together is sometimes part magic, lots of determination, many rewrites and edits in the process. So I always feel like we really do give birth to a book. So this is called In Between the Pages. So my first question to you is, how do you feel about it?
I feel very good about this book. I feel very good about the process. I think you're right. I guess if people are writing books now with AI, maybe it's not quite as
Yeah,
painful,
I
and
know. Oh,
I'm very anti AI and for a host of reasons.
thank you.
Uh,
Me too.
yeah. I mean, if you're thinking about it out there, you're cheating yourself. That's all I'll say. There's no growth with that. Um, And honestly, I mean, a book like this one, as an example, it's like, I hatched this idea in 2016, and here it is, 2025 coming out, and it's those long pauses in between that are the gift really that has left it what it is and what you're holding in your hand there behind you.
Yes.
Um, and I wouldn't trade that for the world, I mean, it's cliche, like it's not the destination, it's the journey, right? But I went through a lot while writing this book. In fact, it started in a very odd place for me because I had written and self-published some books prior, some novellas, and but this one actually started out in 2016. My son was 2, and I became unreasonably convinced that I was going to die that year prematurely. Yeah. I had no reason to think that other than I had been a smoker for a long time.
Okay.
I was trying to quit smoking. It just, there's a great line about ideas from the movie Inception. I don't know it offhand, but
I
it's
love
like an idea,
Inception.
yeah, and it takes hold, and I don't know. I went to the doctor, different doctors, probably 3 or 4 times, and they were like, "You're fine, just quit smoking. You'll be all right." But I was so convinced. I actually started. I was one of those guys. I'm sure this is true of many, many parents, but like I fell in love with my son so fast, and I just saw he was so cool, and he was already even at 2. He was a pretty. I guess I've come to learn that he was actually a pretty verbal and animated character for 2. And I had all this stuff that I was like, I gotta tell you all these things, but if I die, I won't be able to. So I started to write him letters, and that was the unexpected start of this book actually, because while I was doing that, I had kind of the core premise for this book came to my mind, where it was like, if you, well, I don't know if I'm getting ahead. I think I answered your question.
I'll say, don't worry, I'll work on this out. No, you're doing great. Go ahead, please.
Well, we had tried to do everything by the book, right? And part of that was picking somebody to be the legal guardian of our son should anything happen to us both simultaneously, a car crash or whatever. We picked very good friends that I had known since seventh grade.
Okay.
Trusted, obviously, they're still technically the ones that would be
Yeah.
given my son Bodie. And but I wondered after doing it, I was like, do I really know who they are?
Right.
uh, because to a certain extent, we all wear masks.
Mm-hmm.
Even with our close friends and
Yep.
family. I mean, we're acting. And then you mentioned it starts with a plane crash. As a drunk person, as an alcoholic, and as a person in recovery, I hate flying. I do not enjoy it. I really fear it. And I thought, wow, wouldn't it be crazy if Bodhi was survived, and then from heaven,
Yeah.
we could see that the couple that we were leaving him with weren't who we thought they were, and it was actually so bad that you thought it would be better to kill your child and
That's
bring
what
them
that's
to.
what so that's what's so effed up when I read about. Like, dang, it's like you left them in the care of Ethan and Nicole, and then that's not they're not exactly what you thought they was.
Yeah,
Not
and
you. I
so,
mean the care. I'm sorry, the care. Not gonna mix up the characters. Tagging. They weren't what they thought they was. Yes.
right. And then when that came to my mind, I was like, well, it will have to be the mother. I need to write this as the mother. And I was actually just talking about this. I did a brief reading at StokerCon this past weekend,
Oh yes, sir. Yes.
and I was talking about the challenge of the one of the main mother character in this is Amanda.
Yes.
And could I write that? And I felt confident that I could, because I've always considered myself a dad and a mother. I was very fortunate that when my son was young, I was already freelancing. I got to spend a lot of time. My wife worked full time, pretty much from when he was 1 on. So I felt okay about that, but it was still, I was really attracted to the challenge of like, can I write a believable maternal character, and then get you hooked long enough to be like, oh damn,
Yes.
am I
Oh
rooting for
yes.
her?
Oh yes. I won't get away either, but oh yes, that's what I'm saying. It's lots of twists and turns in here. You're like, oh, like kind of like you get to a certain page. You're like, oh, she's doing that. Okay, or she feels that way. Okay, yes. It gets kind of dark, folks. Once you know that, and a good again in a good reading sort of way. Yes. Um, but I want to go back for a second because this is called in between the pages. We go in between the
Do it.
pages, and but first of all, I'm glad you're sober. You're in recovery. I'm glad for yourself. I come from family, many in recovery. Always say happy birthday when you have them, when you have your year and all that stuff. Um, what now? I have children too. I have daughters. I have grandchildren. When you said you fell in love with your son, it was weird. I always tell my daughter on her birthday how I fell in love with her. I said, you were in your mother's stomach, or I used to be a nurse, so I usually get a little more graphic than that. You were in your mother's this, and make her laugh. And I said, and when you came out, because I was there. I was there when she was born. Were you there when your son was born?
I
You?
was, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So isn't there something? It's first. Okay, first of all, birth is not pretty. That's why everybody doesn't romanticize all that. But the part that is beautiful, if they clean them up a little bit and they hand them to you, And but first we hand to the mother first, but then it was like, okay, your turn, Dad, or whatever. I did fall in love. I fell head over heels. And I want to ask you, I still, and this is my daughter's almost 40. That's how old she is. Um, and I still can't really describe it fully. Can you describe that feeling when you saw your son the first time and held him? I know I can't fully describe. I can describe it kind of, but it's otherworldly to me. It's different than anything else.
It it is a connection and a feeling that is so hard to describe, and that's probably a big part of why I set out to write the book because, I usually finish up when I've had the opportunity to talk about the book by saying that on the whole, what this book is at the end of the day is a published love letter to my son. Um, because that is where it all comes from, is that feeling and just that desire to not ever be away from him,
Yeah,
and to do everything. But therein lies the thing, right? I mean, I think a big part of it is like you could do as much as you can do to a point. But, you and I were just talking about the 80s and how we came up and that you got to let go. And I'm parenting in the age of like heavy helicopter
yes.
restrictions and kids, barely leaving the house unattended until they're 21.
Right, right. Yes, it's very,
Right.
very different now.
Yeah. So I think there's part of the theme that's running through the book is like, we think we always know best for our kid, but when does what we know best actually become the danger and the
Yeah.
problem? Yeah.
How have you been able to balance your sobriety with parenthood?
Well, it hasn't been hard because everything that I do starts with my sobriety. It took me a long time to get sober. I tried a few times prior to it sticking, and I was one of those drunks and an addict that was, it was actually get sober or die. I mean, I was pretty close, and I'm really just so grateful that it worked out. And obviously, I played a role in that. My higher power played a role in that, and by the time I guess I had about 5 years, maybe even six, when my son was born.
Okay.
So I was pretty set, and I wasn't that worried about it. I think now, if there's anything I worry about, it's just I do believe that alcoholism and drug addictions in general are genetic. I do think it also skips a lot of generations. And so I probably spend not a lot of time, but unnecessary time wondering like, oh, is that similar to the way that I behaved when I was 11? Because I'm somebody who believes you're born an addict. That
Yeah.
there certainly are outside forces that contribute to it, and even in my own journey. But in terms of parenting, I think it left me like really good at it. I'm just gonna pat myself on the back, man.
Yes. Do it. Do it. Do it. Do it. Do it. Yes.
I mean, my wife would tell you, like, I think she actually at times despises me for how even keel I am and how it takes a lot to get me off balance.
We're similar that way. I'm not a panicker. I'm also, I was talking to some other parents on another show we were doing, and we were laughing about, well, James, were you a yeller? I go, no, I never yelled. I have a deep voice, so I can drop a couple octaves, like
Yeah.
me too. And my girls were like, and they were going line. But I said I never really had to scream and yell. I mean, their mother did that a lot, but I
Right.
didn't have to do that. I think like you, I was very much like, well, I did it all as a kid, so like, you can't really surprise me with nothing. So I mean, just like, well, handle what happens. That was kind of my thoughts. Like I'll just handle what happens.
Yeah.
You
It's
know,
all you can do, really.
right? There's
I say to my son all the time, I'm just like, look, I'm not saying you shouldn't be disappointed or angry or
no,
whatever. Let's move through that feeling and I'll give you time to do it. But at the end of the day, you just have to say, okay, what's the next right step? I'm going to figure out how to handle this thing that's in front of me. And we've certainly had our share of,
of course.
everybody has.
Well,
Yeah.
kids push boundaries. That's their whole point. That's what you're supposed to do. That's how. It's always funny. I always laugh at my girls now because I have two daughters. They team up on me all the time, and I for fun, like for fun. And I'll be like, I know I raised you to be strong, independent, mouthy women, but don't use it against me. I'm the good one. Don't use it against. And they laugh, and we just have a good time about that because I did help. Which we do, right? We raise our kids to be functioning members of society, hopefully. And then sometimes you see yourself in them, and you're like, "Oh, that's me. Oh my God, it's me. Oh my God." And it's a mirror. Obviously, it reflects right back to you. So yes, so I do understand that.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I want to ask you: Did you actually, when you said you want to start writing letters to your son? Do you actually have letters to him?
Oh yeah, I have the
So you still
letters.
have them? You still have them?
Hmm.
All
Yeah.
right. What do
Uh,
you? Any thoughts? What are you going to do with those? It's like give it to when he's 18, or like hold on to him for, or make a book out of it one day. Like I don't. I'm very curious about that. I like that idea.
that is a good question. I've held on to them. I'm the only one who's seen them.
Okay.
Not even my wife has read them.
Okay.
Um, I hadn't really given it a whole lot of thought. You bring up a very interesting point. I suppose at some point I might ask him if he's interested in reading them, and maybe I'll give them to him in a way that he can look at them when he wants. Not like, let's sit down and read the letters that I
No, I
that I
know,
wrote
right?
to you.
Exactly right. No, that's why I'm like, but just I'm a person. I'm old. I like tradition. I like symbolism. I'm a softie for that. Maybe this big 6 foot, 300 pound guy, but I'm a big softie inside. Maybe everybody makes fun of me for that. Because I like kind of that passing down of something. Because I'm at that stage right now. I'm losing parents. I have no grandparents left. I'm losing uncles. Like I'm kind of losing folks now, so I'm becoming the patriarch kind of the family. Like, I would have loved to have something from this person or that person, and they're gone now. I mean,
Yeah. Well, I will just tell you real briefly. I don't remember. I think it was about 10, 12. It was before my son was born. And I don't remember what got into me. I think I was actually telling my wife a story about my father when he was younger. And I was curious about the details if I was getting and so I actually just reached out to my dad, who at the time probably was 72, and I said, "Hey, would you mind writing me a short biography of your life?" And
wow,
I didn't know if he would say yes or no, or if it would be a page or what.
right?
Ultimately, it was probably about 8 pages printed out, and it was,
Wow,
yeah, and it was pretty good. It was pretty detailed. It filled in some blanks for me.
yeah,
Now, tucked in there is not life lessons per se, like you and I were maybe just kind of alluding to, but it really still was a powerful moment for me where I was like, it's one thing to hear these things; it was another thing to have it to reference
yeah,
you know and I have told people that story from time to time, and I'm like, if your folks are still alive, ask them.
yeah,
And maybe another way to go, it's just occurring to me as we talk about it, is like, hey, why don't you write me 10 things you think I should remember going forward, just to have. And that is somewhat what the letters are that I wrote to my son. I just wanted him to have it if I died.
yeah,
I think now he has a pretty good sense of
yeah.
who I am
Okay, here you are.
and
Yeah,
what I believe, right?
yes,
But even so, at that moment, I really just wanted him to have some framework of who his father was and what he believed in. And I wasn't like thinking it would shape him from beyond the grave or, anything like that. But in some respects, we do these things for ourselves too. It certainly gave me peace. I didn't realize it at the time. I have a good friend recently who was like, "It's amazing you used writing to work through those feelings," and I was like, "Is that what I was doing?" I
yeah,
didn't, maybe.
maybe right.
I guess so.
I'll tell you something. I recorded my oldest aunt from my grandmother's side of the family, Aunt Yvette. I have those recordings. She died 2 years later. I have those. I decided I would do it again for the family, but I have them. I have like 8 hours of tape. We just talked about their lives, and I did
Lovely.
that. Someone told
That's
me to do that, and she was open to it. She loved talking about it, so we talked about it. So I have it.
that's
But
brilliant.
but one of the things that you and I are doing before we want to the book, go back to the book, what you and I are doing now anyway, anything we record, whether it's audio, video, it's for our kids. They can go to it at any time now. My grandkids only know me as a person on television, a
All
person
right.
like this. So
Hmm.
now if I drop dead tomorrow, they can always look at Papa Jamie anytime they want to because I have a channel. And I thought that I said that's kind of my legacy on some level. But that's for all of us. Anybody who does anything digital or video, we can now look, now you can go, okay, where all my digital for my grandparents are all on little film pieces and I mean, whatever else, all that kind of stuff.
Right.
It's
Right.
much easier now for them, for the next generation.
Yeah. And for our children, a pleasurable experience. If you're the child of like Johnny Knoxville, maybe not. Like, oh, my dad, he was that guy who stuck his balls in a bear trap. You know what I mean?
Actually, I would like to talk to any kids of Johnny Knoxville or Steve-O or whatever. Seriously, right? Like, what was it like? That would be very interesting, Peter. That'd be interesting. How do you grow? Because I wonder if they'd be a total opposite of that, like very serious and businessman, or are they like that? I mean, that'd be kind of the whole. That'd be very interesting. Be like, well, how do you guys turn out? Because we know it's all. We know people are different when they're home. I mean, I get that. But I just wonder if they would follow the footsteps or go totally. Like, I'm not. I'm getting far away from that shit. I'm going over here.
Well, yeah,
It's
yeah.
very. I like that. I like that, Peter. It's very fun. Back to the book. There's one thing I did want to ask you. The book's divided into two parts. So folks, we know it says part one and part two. And in
Mhm.
part one, and in this book, you have all this thing called the text.
Mm.
Talk about that. It's very so folks very interesting. It's almost like there's a lesson at the end of each chapter, in between chapters, but it's not
Mhm.
necessarily a lesson. It's like there's one was like a prayer for the dying, one was this. It's like different things in there. And some of them feel like you're talking to us, and sometimes you feel like you're talking within the character, you're talking to the characters.
Yeah.
I thought that was very interesting. So tell me about that.
Well, I think it's probably like a three-pronged thing. Number one, having come up through the rooms of AA, we have the 12 steps and we have the big book and we have our sponsors and we
Right.
have essentially all of these things are pitched to you as suggestions,
Yes.
not rules,
Right.
not hey, do this and it'll work.
Right.
There's no guarantees.
Right.
And I'm not the first person to kind of feel like once you're in it and living it and it works for you, it can start to feel like a cult a bit. And I think like a lot of people who are interested in dark fiction and horror, I'm also fascinated by cults. And I started looking into cult psychology quite a bit and how they over time get you to, I'm not going to say brainwashed because it's not exactly that. It's more of
Right.
like gets you comfortable
Yes.
existing in this new world, your new section of the world. And here we are, we're in such a fractured reality right now as we live and breathe. There could be somebody that my son thinks is the most famous person in the world, and I've never heard of that person, right?
Yes.
And that doesn't mean that it isn't like God to him. You know what I mean? So I guess a part of what I was exploring when I started to write those letters, and then certainly as I started to think about what this book was going to be, is like, what was heaven to me? What did I believe the afterlife would be like? And I didn't sit down to manifest the afterlife that I want, It's
Right.
certainly not that.
Yeah.
It's certainly, in fact, now I saw, you're not supposed to read your reviews. Uh, but,
Uh-oh, womp womp.
I did see a review, and it was actually a 3 star still.
Okay, that's
But
decent.
this person, and God bless them for reading the book. I mean, I'm a big fan, and I'll take all of it. I read my reviews because I really believe there's probably some things I could learn from a 1 star review. But they did not like Second Plane, which is the name of the
Yeah,
afterlife in the book.
yeah.
Yeah, they were, it's funny because they did not like it, but then they almost kind of understood why it existed the way I had pitched it. And I think really what I was sort of trying to speak to is like I'm somebody who believes in a lot of different things with no certainty of like which is the right thing. To the point where I often wonder if you will walk into the thing that you most want to walk into. And then also you should be a little bit weary of that, right? Like the text is there. And so in my book, you die, you were handed the text. You are a resident of an afterlife called Second Plane,
Yeah.
right? And from the very get-go, this thing is trying to say, hey, here's how it is here, right? And that parallels what I think is what we do here in this plane, which is called prior plane in the book.
Yes. There's
You are
there's
going
also
to
just a
keep
third
going.
plane also. There's all that.
Right? I'm going to tell you all of these things.
Yeah.
This is the way it is here. Do not deviate from the way it is. Rebel. But I mean, this is the
Right.
gist.
right.
And so I kind of modeled it after that. And also because the book is so dark, it gave me some room to have a little bit of fun.
Yeah,
Some of it gets a little cheeky.
yeah.
And I mean, it's been interesting to see. Some people mention the text right away, and some people have told me they love the book and talk about the book, and they don't even bring that part up.
See, I had to bring it up.
Yeah.
Uh,
So
yeah. And it's funny, and you wonder, will somebody get to the third plane? The third plane is mentioned. It's like you kind of, and there's an answer at the end. It's an answer. I'm not going to say it. I'm going to read something quick because I like to do this. This is the text, section 11, our only prayer. I like this one. I am, but I am not. I did, but I am done. I will, while also won't. Say that 5 times fast. I knew, but know not. Love it. Love that line. I lived, and I am at peace with those still living. My toil is for an eternal and peaceful existence here. I am not my brother's keeper. Say it aloud. I am not my brother's keeper. I love that one. My favorites.
I have to say, no one's read it aloud to me. You're the first.
Oh wow.
That and I mean, it probably is a little bit like, what an ego on this guy. But hearing you read it back to me, I'm like, that's some powerful
It
stuff.
is. Well, I'm saying
Yeah.
the line that I'm glad get to hear it back to yourself. Um, the line that gets me is that I knew, but I know not. That was like that because I'm finding as I get older, now how you are, I think I'm a smart guy. I mean, I have some brains, I have some degrees and all that stuff, whatever. But as I get older, I learn how much I don't know.
I mean, at the end of the day, that is the prayer that they're suggested to say there in the afterlife. But truthfully, that is essentially my version of the prayer to exist here in a peaceful way.
We don't know everything. Let that go. You're not going to
Yeah,
know everything. You
yeah,
don't know everything, and it's okay.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
like lived experience. But I'm sure you know this too, obviously, from recovery stuff. Like when you like to learn how to be present. I just wrote a blog post about that. It's coming out on Monday about how I'm right now. I'm caregiving my mom, so I said I'm very present now.
yeah.
It's everything's immediate. Everything is right now. You can't
Yes,
borrow from the past. You can't stay in the past, and you can't even look to the future. Really, you have to stay right here because everything
I
is right here.
I'm with you on that. I am also currently helping. We put my father into a home recently, and
Oh, you understand? Okay, yeah.
yeah, and navigating Medicaid, and then
Oh,
some.
how about this? I got I got files over here. These are all my mother's files. I'm
Yep,
dealing with right now. 'Cause I'm taking over the medical stuff.
you and
Yes.
me. Man.
Yeah.
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 So I think I'm going to read your blog post because that is absolutely right. I don't think anything is ever. Well, that's not exactly true, but it has a massive ability to put you only in the present and to be present.
Yeah.
And to not be able to look that far forward or, spend any time back. And I mean, you want to feel humbled, then it's like, oh, I thought I knew a lot. Well, I don't know anything and I had to learn. And I'm okay with that. And that's what you were saying, like I'm just sort of like, I am okay with being wrong.
Yeah.
And I wasn't always, you know.
Yeah.
The systems and structures that we sort of grow up in, almost in no matter what profession you take on, almost train you to never admit that you don't know something. Always answer quickly. Make up something if you have to.
Appearance. How do you
Right.
appear?
Yeah.
Are you a
Fake.
dummy? Are you smart? I mean, yeah, you're right. Always.
Yeah.
It's all about
I
perspective.
saw. I had the. I've worked for many great people in that part of my life that was advertising, and I worked for a guy. His name was Matt Aselton, and well, with him, and I was blown away that he was the only person I knew. This is probably like late 90s, early 2000s, where when we were in a client meeting, if a client asked him a question and he didn't know the answer to it, he would say, I don't know the answer to that. I'll have to get back to you. Whereas everybody else that I was surrounded by was constantly just bullshitting, And anyway,
Well,
it's okay.
I'm a big supporter of surround myself with smart people. I tell people all the time because I'm like, in my profession, I got into profession a little older, later in life. So I'm kind of surrounded by all these little millennials and Gen Zers around me. I love it. I'm like, how do I do this? What do I do over here? And they've taught me a lot. I have no problem not knowing. I'm
Right.
like, that's good because that even makes you smarter because you have people around you who are helping you be smart. That's half the deal right there. Who you're surrounded with. I don't know
Yeah.
everything, but you know this. I'll use you. You know that. Anyway, I know something too. You can come to me. That's kind of the point.
Yeah.
We don't know everything.
Yeah.
We don't know everything at all.
But also don't completely abandon your intuition and your gut
Of
instinct.
course, all right. Trust your gut.
Yeah. Yeah.
Seriously, trust your gut. I tell it all the time. I remember there's times my stomach starts to hurt. I'm like, okay, something's wrong.
Yeah. We call it, well, me and a few of my sober friends call it spidey senses.
I said yes. I said
Kind of
yes.
get it. And you're like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like,
something's a little off about this or that or this person, Doesn't necessarily even mean it's a bad thing. There's
oh,
just always, you just, yeah. Yeah. And I think that's, I don't know how prevalent the theme of that is in the book, but like that is another thing I was trying to really kind of balance throughout is like you have to know when to trust your gut, no matter
wait.
what you're being told or fed, or whether it's the text
Yeah.
or somebody you've been assigned or a president. You
Yes. Exactly. No, your book. No, here's the bunch of characters. They're all strong characters. Every single person in the book is strong. That was one of the things I walked away with. And no matter who you choose to follow in a book or whatever, they're all strong characters. Maybe some strong and some crazy, maybe some strong in this, but they're strong. So I kind of want to know from you, because again, going in between the pages, um, how did you come up with this world? I mean, I know the impetus of how you started, but I'm just kind of like, how did you make each? Because I'm sure you probably did you write out the characters first and then go from there, or is this more story driven, where you kind of the characters came to you? Like, how did that process work for you?
I think in this particular instance, the I had in mind the premise, right? So I knew the body count that I needed.
Okay, okay,
I was like, well, I need the parents, and I've got the son, and then I need the people that the son is being left with, and maybe one or two other
all right,
right on the side. And as I started to develop them, I didn't have to work too hard. No one character is based on any specific
I was
person.
gonna ask you that. Okay, so okay, good, okay.
In fact, I mean, I often wonder if and when people start reading it, if they'll, as readers so often do, they'll be like, "Oh, well, clearly Peter is Tag." Well, not really.
Oh, how funny. Okay, okay,
Maybe I might be Amanda. I don't really know. I
right.
might be.
But yeah, right. That's right.
I mean, I'm not Aiden. I know that, but
No, no. I don't think
but
you're well, but I don't think you are. I don't think you are. No.
I had the pleasure of seeing Allie Wilkes, who I love. She's a great author out of the UK, and she was speaking about her book, Where the Dead Wait, and someone asked her a similar question. Well, not exactly, but had asked her, "What of this book is you?" Whatever, and she had said, "I have to sometimes be away from a book for about a year to really know where I am in the book." And I thought, wow, that is so cool because in the process of doing this, when it came around to doing the very final pass and I had to reread the whole book again and make sure that I was happy with everything, and only then did I start to really see, oh, I see this is the thing I was negotiating at that time. And it
Okay.
made it into this character. So some of me is in every character.
Well, yeah,
Some of the best people I've ever known and some of the worst people I've ever known are in the characters. And I didn't live in Park Slope, which is obviously where some of the characters
I know that.
reside.
I grew up in that. I know that area, so I know that.
Yeah, but
Yes.
I spent a lot of time there and I had a lot of friends there, and that certainly informed it. I don't think this is one of those books where like the location is also a character, but if you are somebody who's familiar with Park Slope, then I think you get a sense of like what the characters are dealing with for having been in Park Slope.
Yes. So my grandparents. So my mother is from Spanish Harlem. So she was like 101st in Lexington. She was over there. Then her parents divorced, and my grandfather moved to Brooklyn, which back in the day you didn't do that. This was before Brooklyn was all fancy, schmancy, and all that. It was like, well, even cabs would go to Brooklyn if you were in Manhattan. It was like, I mean, it was a whole thing about that. It was really true, folks. So I took the F train to go to Fort Hamilton Parkway Station, and they were there for years. And now it's called Kensington, but it's a new name. But
Yeah.
it's basically Park Slope Prospect Park because it's around the corner from Prospect Park's like literally around the corner
Yeah.
off Ocean Avenue. So I know, so when you were doing that, it's like, you're right. It wasn't a character in the book, but I was like, oh yeah, I know what that is. Or I know that area. That sounds familiar. Like I know the whole area. So anyway, so I did recognize that. So I did. But you're right. It's not one of those, like some books, some stories, it becomes the fifth lady or the fifth character or whatever. It's
Yes.
not that
Yeah.
pronounced. But it just
No.
gives you an idea. It's not Los Angeles. It's not Chicago. Like, just gives you an idea. It's not. And there's,
Probably, probably every city and even every minor town has its part of town that
yeah,
is the slope of the town.
yeah,
There's just certain attitudes and
yes.
a certain type of I don't know
Vibe.
what to call it, busybody vibe kind
Yeah.
of thing. People in each other's business.
Oh,
Um,
yes. That was very
yeah.
much. Yes.
So you get a sense of that, and then if you are, if you are somebody who's spent any time in Brooklyn or New York City, then it's almost like an Easter egg, I guess, to an extent, because you're then maybe feeling that, in a more real way, where it's like, I remember that, I
Oh, I
remember
did.
that.
Oh, I, yeah, yeah. I know. I agree with that idea. It's like, because New York is a very dense place. It's a small island. It's very dense. These five boroughs are in there. I also lived in San Francisco for 16 years. There's another dense island, well, peninsula, like island, lots of people on top of each other. It's very, very interesting places to live. And you do get that kind of, it's a big city, but small town feel sometimes
Mm,
in certain
mm,
pockets, right? That's where you get that
mm.
very much. I'm glad you said that's good. So I'm glad you're doing that. Yeah, so there's these different planes that he describes in the book, folks, and so you're wondering if someone's going to make it to that third plane. I found it that's very interesting. I'm not giving that away either. Um, when you describe the book to people, I could talk to you forever, but I obviously got to wrap this up. And again, it's such a great book. Congratulations.
Thank you so
Um,
much.
when you describe the book to people, what do you say? Because I know everybody has to. I can describe the book, they can describe it, but what, you're the author, you're the father of this book.
Mm.
What say you? If somebody says, "What's your book about?"
Well, it somewhat depends on who the audience is, who's asking.
Okay, like that.
I have tried to find in this age of short attention
Oh
spans,
yeah,
like, what,
soundbite.
yeah, what can I say that's gonna, have you take a chance on this person you've never heard of, this author you don't know from Adam? So, I mean, I've said so from time to time, it's like it's a possession novel, but for the whole family, you know? Uh,
That's pretty good. That's pretty good. I like that, Peter. That's pretty good. I like that.
yeah. I do think that that there is possession in the book, and that's not a secret. I think it's on the flap copy.
It is. No, it is. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's a very unique approach at possession that dabbles in some things. So there's that. Most of the time, I just say, look, I kind of tell them what I told you at the front. I'm like, in 2016, I thought I was going to die. And I started writing my son love letters. And then all of a sudden I had this idea of like, wait a minute, if we both die, who are we leaving him with? Good friends. Who are they? Do we know them at all? And then that question of just like, if you knew where you were in heaven, whatever that looks like for you, was better than the life your child, whether it be a boy, girl, or otherwise, here on earth, would you kill them to bring them to heaven to reunite your family? And I say that, and I mean, most of the time, people's face just is like,
I'm sure.
"What?
I know.
What
I
did you
know.
just say?" You know?
It's very
And
interesting.
I mean, it's dark, and it's interesting. Like my editor, the editor who I ended up working with Crooked Lane Books. Thank you, Crooked Lane Books. Thank you, Jess Verde, for making this happen, which in and of itself is its own kind of magical story. But what I really liked about her take after reading the manuscript was she was just like, this is an insanely dark book, but it still you hope, you
Yeah,
know.
it does.
You
It does.
still, yeah. And that, that's something that I think I have to work better into my own pitch, right? Because I tend to focus on like, this is what it's about, and then I probably finish with that, you know. this mother wants to kill her son and bring him to the afterlife,
Yes.
and it's too much. It's too much for
I know.
people.
You're like,
Well,
what?
now I'm like, it's a possession novel for the whole family.
Yeah, yeah, like that. Well, I'm saying it out loud. Streaming service, something. This could be a series, a book, a movie, something. I'm saying it out loud. I think it'd be
Thank,
great. I think it'd be
thank
wonderful. Uh, have to ask. I always ask folks when there's a good book like this. Um, Sequel, spin-off, anything thinking, or are we done? It is good for now. I should think about this for now.
you. You know, I can't see doing a sequel, but I would really love the opportunity to turn it into a series because there's some places where I could go with it.
Oh my, totally. With the right actors. Oh,
Yeah.
that
And
whole
I've
oh my god, that whole plane crash sequence could be amazing. First of all, because you're talking through it and everything. Like, it could be an amazing, and this babies. I mean, I can envision it. I can already envision it.
Yeah. And I think getting some, you get a little bit of a taste of the histories of the characters throughout
Yes,
the book and where they came
yes,
from and their own trauma that formed them and
yes.
shaped them. But I think I could go deep into that. But in terms of the next thing I'm doing, I'm actually working on a new my next manuscript, which I hope will be the next published book. Is actually this is how I'm billing this one. It's the hero story my mother deserves, and I'll leave you with that.
Well, Peter, you have to come back when that book comes out. You have to come back on the show. You have an invitation on the show anytime, Peter.
Well, thank you. That's amazing. I
Anytime.
appreciate that. I've enjoyed talking to you so much. I mean, I could just shoot the crap with you probably for another 2 hours.
I was going to watch a 5 hour podcast, so I know I'm not
No
going
one, no one.
to
I
know
know that. Yeah.
you, but you have to come back sometime. It'd be great. So you have your next book come back and we'll talk about it. I'll read it and we'll talk about it. Peter is the guy. He is on all social media platforms. We are following each other on Instagram. So what I'm going to do is I'm also going to send you my blog post from today that I did that
Okay.
everybody likes, and then you'll see the one on Monday. So you'll have it. You'll like. I think you'll like both of them.
All
Uh,
right. So
but he's at peterroach.com.